Hi, everybody. I'm Margie, compulsive overeater, abstinent and grateful as we define it, which is 3 weighted measured meals a day from the gray sheet without exception, committed to my sponsor. I don't eat anything in between, no matter what. And one day at a time, abstinence is the most important thing in my life. And I am very, very grateful to be abstinent today and happy to be here with all of you. And it's really thanks everybody who does service on this meeting. It's my first time at this meeting, so it's actually I've been around Gray Sheet for a while, but I don't know a lot of you, and like really nervous. So anyway, when I tell my story, I don't really have to be nervous when I tell my story. I mean, I'm a garden variety compulsive overeater, and somehow I found Gray Sheet, and I've been abstinent since August 11th of 1991. So it's 31 years. And it wasn't like this instant I walked in the door and I was struck abstinent. That's absolutely not what happened. I mean, I think that I was a compulsive overeater from a very young age. And I, when I was 7 years old, I had an asthma attack. And so we went, I don't know, we were visiting relatives or something. And I remember that they put me on, some kind of steroids for the asthma. And I kind of blew up like a little balloon. And when they took me off the steroids, I remember sitting down in a doctor's office. I really don't remember what doctor it was. And it was me and my mom, and they handed me this diet that, it was on a white piece of paper, and it probably looked a lot like the Gray Sheet where, these are the foods you can eat. These are the foods you can't eat. This is the meal plan. This is what you have at each meal. And, as like a good little 7-year-old, I went home and I started making charts and graphs and, writing things down. And, I was like psyched because I didn't like the fact that I was overweight. And, basically from that moment in my life, I was either on a diet or off a diet. I was either being good or bad. And to me, it definitely was a moral issue. There was, no doubt about it. Either I could control it and I was a good person and a good girl, or I couldn't control it and there was something wrong with me. I was a bad person. And I didn't understand what was wrong with me until I got to Gray Sheet. And you guys said, you have a disease. And I thought everybody was crazy. It's like, I don't have a disease. I'm just fat and I can't stop eating. But they said, no, no, no. You are an addict and you are allergic. You have a physical allergy to the foods that we avoid. Sugars and carbohydrate in solid form are the foods that we don't eat. And in liquid form, they're alcohol. And you are an addict and you have an allergy. And I understood the concept of an allergy because I had other allergies and I went for allergy shots when I was a kid. I also was in a place in my life where I was drinking excessively. And I knew that once I started drinking, I couldn't stop. Once I started eating, I couldn't stop. So, okay, I've got this physical allergy. And you also told me that it was coupled with a mental obsession. And the third leg of the stool was a spiritual hole. And you said, if you weigh and measure your food and you eat the foods on the Gray Sheet, that will take care of the physical allergy. And then you'll need to work on the mental and emotional part as well as the spiritual angle. And that you will do by going to meetings and working the steps and having a sponsor Okay, so got it. Thanks, Adam. And and that's and it says on the gray sheet that the food plan takes care of the physical part, and the steps take care of everything else. And I was cleaning out the bottom of my closet. I recently retired, and I live in Manhattan. And my kids, my husband and I were in this 2-bedroom apartment, and I've got, a pretty big closet in my bedroom. And since I retired, I haven't, since COVID and everything else, I really haven't done the clean out to, recognize the fact that, there's basically like some stretch pants and some t-shirts that I wear, which, is not because of my body size. It's because I haven't been going anywhere or doing anything, and it's comfortable. But I have, like, the bottom of my closet. I just finally said yesterday, I took everything out. And this isn't my whole closet. This is just the bottom. And I had, so anyway, like, I've got bags of stuff that has to go to Goodwill, and shoes that I haven't worn in 20 years and will never wear, and, whatever. But I came across a box, and in this box, there was the one of the OA books, which I never really went to OA, but that white one that has like the food for thought, or I don't know what it is, but there was also some pictures in the box, and the little food book that I had from the year that I got abstinent, where it stuck. And so anyway, I don't know if you can see this. But this is me. Oops. That's me with dark hair when I graduated from graduate school in 1984. That was before I walked into my first gray sheet meeting. And then this is another picture from around that same time. And the person, I can't get it. There we go. I got the drink in my hand, I got the white shirt on, and I got the funny 1980s hairdo. So just a little bit of backstory. Okay, so I grew up in New Jersey, white, middle class, Jewish family, not particularly religious, but, food was definitely an important part of our life. And, my father always was like, he had issues with food also. And he just always used to say to me, like, why can't you just, moderate, like, haven't you ever heard the word moderation? That's what he used to say to me. I was like, yeah, I've heard of the word. I just don't know how to do it. So anyway, I said, on a diet, off a diet, on a diet, off a diet. And, I went to, I had friends, I went to college, I was very functional, compulsive overeater. After I graduated from college, I moved into New York City. I lived in Manhattan on the Upper East Side. I had 2 roommates. We were all drunks. We thought we were like the Sex and the City girls, except we weren't. And, our apartment, like, we had condiments and nail polish in our refrigerator. And, I used to go out drinking and stumble home eating, what have you. And, at my, I think it was my 5-year high school reunion, I was, busting out a size 18s. And I had a very good friend who lived in Cambridge, and we went out to dinner, and she was stuffing lettuce in her cup. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? And she said, oh yeah, I'm weighing and measuring my food. I do this thing, in OA. And then afterwards, she sent me a whole bunch of literature. And I was so incensed that she sent me literature, that she thought I had a problem. Meanwhile, at the reunion, I was like loaded. I was like so drunk. I don't remember what happened that night. Just anyway, I knew she planted the seed. And somewhere in the back of my mind, like in the early 80s, I knew that there was this thing called OA, and people stuffed lettuce in a cup. And so in at my 30th birthday.
Sorry, Margie, 10 minutes.
Okay. So my 30th birthday, which was in 1985, so you can do the math. My roommates threw me a surprise birthday party, and I almost didn't get home for the party because we were out drinking and I didn't want to go home. It was my birthday. But anyway, so we had this birthday party, and afterwards I just I was like, oh my God, I'm 30. My 20s are a blur. Yes, I have a decent job, and I graduate. I hated myself. I hated myself. I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I didn't want to blink and be 40 and be living in an apartment in Manhattan with two other drunks going, what happened to my 30s? But, it took me a few more years before I had any willingness to actually, like, I tried this, I tried that. And, it's not that there hadn't been points in my life where I lost weight. There had been. And then finally, in 1987, so New Year's Eve of 1987, 2 years later, I was dating somebody, and January 1st, I said, I think I'm really ready to try to go to OA, but I'm scared. And he said, I'll go with you. So that was January 1st. Needless to say, I was like, maybe I'll try, like, I don't know, the Hollywood diet, where you eat like all fruits one day or whatever. Of course, that didn't work. Finally, February 1st, it's a Monday night. It's the first of the month. We went to a place called Moravian Church in Manhattan. It was an OA meeting. And there were a bunch of people sitting around the basement of this church. And they kept talking about God, and nobody mentioned anything about food, and nobody said anything about stuffing lettuce in a cup. But they did give me a meeting list. And the meeting list had Jan Hus Church on Tuesday night. So on Tuesday night, I went to Jan Hus Church, and I get there, and there's a woman sitting in the chair, and she starts waving around the gray sheet, and she holds up her cup, and she said, I weigh and measure 3 meals a day without exception from this gray sheet. I don't eat anything in between, no matter what. And abstinence is the most important thing in my life. And this is my cup, and this is my scale, and this is my tablespoon, and this is what I do. And I was like, oh, shit. Oops, sorry. I was like, I found them. I found those crazy people who weigh and measure their food. So that was, it's like February 2nd of 1987. So my abstinent date is not until 1990. So for 3 years, I went to meetings, I lost weight, I lied, I cheated, I left, I came back, I drank, I ate, I lied, I cheated, I tried. And that was my cycle. And it took me all of that time to actually really surrender. And I got engaged in February of 1990. And I came back and I was like, this is it. I'm going to do it. And then I had a business trip in August, and I couldn't. And I gave away my abstinence. And I got back. I went to the Saturday morning meeting. I cried, and I was like, this is it, And from that point forward, I really was surrendered. I knew that this was the answer. And I also knew that I would do whatever it took. And my abstinence really was the most important thing. And whatever it took, I got married, I got pregnant, I was on bed rest with my first baby. You know, I had another baby, I had a full-time job, I had a, like, I don't, like, the only thing I knew was that if I weighed and measured my food, somehow in between, life would happen. And I've worked the steps and I've just stayed. And whatever it takes, do not give up 5 minutes before the miracle. This program works if you work it, and my time is up. So thank you so much for listening, no matter what.